that it will be even closer than some of our communication satellites. Keep it right here because we're going to be watching it together, but we want to get first for an update to Phil Keating, who has been monitoring this. Look, 2:24 p.m. today, 10 minutes away. We've got all the experts lined up for you, but in the meantime, we want to get up to speed with our own Phil Keating, who's been watching the news.
Yeah,
Phil?
Remember they'll say
you remember how fast this asteroid Meteorite 14 was coming at the top of the 1 o'clock hour? It's going much more slowly as it approaches the Earth right now. That's because it's getting to the closest point it's going to get towards Earth, 17,200 miles, in roughly 9 minutes from now. So the current distance from the Earth is about 17,400 miles, and then at 2:24 Eastern Time, that is going to start lengthening, widening that distance between this asteroid and the Earth, and then from there on out, we're still not out of the woods yet, and that doesn't happen until 3:24 Eastern Time, and that is when this asteroid will then, for the second time today, exit the geosynchronous satellite plane, which is an invisible ring around the planet Earth 22,000 miles away. That is where Fox News TV communication satellites, as well as untold numbers of other satellites, all orbit because they can basically stay in the same orbit. The gravity power of the Earth allows them to stay that distance pretty much without any adjustments needed based on the ground communications with those satellites. But once it exits that plane at 3:24, then this very close encounter with this asteroid should pretty much be over. There have been no reports of any satellite damage, any in-space collision with this asteroid at 1:24 when the asteroid first broke that ring, that geosynchronous ring. And all scientists did, and astronomers did predict, they thought, number one, there was no way it was going to hit the Earth. That certainly seems to be holding up as accurate. And number two, they thought it was nearly impossible that this would actually, the asteroid, collide with one of these asteroids. Remember, the asteroid itself is about half a football field in size, or if you look at a building, it's about a 12-story building. But that's a very big asteroid. The one in Russia earlier this morning that just lit up the skies. Scientists, astronomers have been on the scene, and they anticipate that their conclusion will be that that meteor was about a third of the size of what we are watching up above us right now, less than 17,400 miles away. This asteroid, DA-14, said to be the closest flyby of any asteroid in recorded history, but it has made impact before an asteroid of this magnitude and size. 50,000 years ago in Arizona, that massive meteor crater, scientists do believe that was caused by a massive explosion, like a 20 megaton nuclear bomb, based on an asteroid roughly the same as this size. And of course, the 1908 Tunguska event in Russia, where the forests were flattened for hundreds and hundreds of miles, thanks to an explosion of a meteor above the Earth before it actually made impact. And that's exactly what is believed to have happened in Russia again this morning near the Ural Mountains, that it actually exploded in the air, which is why those shock waves broke all of those windows, sent debris flying and injured about 1,000 Russians.
All right, Phil Keating, stand by. Thank you. As we wait for the big moment, I want to bring in Tariq Malik. He's a senior editor for Space.com. Tariq, thank you very much for being here. So they're still saying this isn't going to hit Earth, but this is extremely rare. We should tell the viewers what's about to happen here. You say this happens about once every 40 years. It actually hits us about once every
1,200 years.
Okay, so those are better odds.
Yeah.
Very, very good odds that it's not going to hit us. But this is history right here.
It is. This is a record-setting flyby for NASA, for everyone. Basically, this asteroid is the biggest asteroid that's coming, making the closest flyby of its size that astronauts or astronomers have known about in advance, so they could plan for it. There's a whole army of amateur astronomers, sky watchers, and scientists all across the world who have been just waiting to see this in the telescopes as it just crosses the sky in a few minutes from now.
Now, back in 1908, when an asteroid a little smaller than this one hit Russia, they say it wiped out an area about the size of Rhode Island. Not quite that big the size of Rhode Island. It was all forest, which was good. But explain to me how an asteroid that's, I've been saying the size of a football field, like it's half the size of the football field. How can an asteroid that's that size, that turns into a meteorite, I guess, if it hits us, wipe out an area the size of Rhode Island.
What happened in the Tunguska event is that the asteroid didn't get all the way to the ground. It got through the atmosphere, which is a feat in itself, and then it just exploded like a bomb, atomic bomb in the air, and that just sent a massive shockwave to the ground. And it just, when it hits the ground, it has nowhere to go, and everything gets flattened, pushed out. We saw that again in Russia today. That was a much smaller version, but you saw the damage there and all the folks that were injured.
Where's it going to pass?
The Tunguska event was just that on a much more massive scale.
Right, but that one, Tunguska, which was 1908 one in Russia, was just under the size of this asteroid we're told that we're looking at here. So now, but this one isn't going to hit us again, they say. I want to show, hopefully we have this picture, that of the point of impact now they're saying in Russia today, which is, you can see this huge crater in this watery area in the middle of the ice, and some are saying that this suggests that the meteorite over there did not explode in the air, but hit the ground. Yeah. And I guess that makes a difference in terms of the damage and just for scientists to study.
That's what we're trying to figure out right now. Cool. We're hearing it was about 50 feet across or 50 meters across, a fairly sizable asteroid. But how much of it did blow up in the air? How much of it survived on the way down to make the craters that they're finding? They're finding pieces of it all over.
See it anywhere.
That's what I think it's going to tell the story as to exactly what this is.
We're going to get that picture up for you in a moment. Now, look, I can't really see the screen very well from here. This one's better. Okay, this number here is more informative because you can see this is from NASA. They're telling us that the distance to Earth is 17,000 miles and change, and apparently, is it going to travel 17,000 miles in the next 4 minutes?
It's going at a good clip. It was coming in at 17,000 miles an hour, actually.
So there you go. I want to ask you whether it's not going to hit us, they say. Are there any consequences to us of this happening? This asteroid?
From this asteroid itself?
Yeah.
Well, they know for a fact that this one's not going to hit us now. They projected how it's going to change from this flyby through the future. It's not going to come back and hit us again. What they're hoping to find out, though, is that by studying this one closely, they can figure out how to deflect one in the future.
This is the point of impact in Russia of the meteorite that hit earlier today.
So that's the impact.
The huge crater that it made. Does that suggest to you that the thing did not explode in the air, as so many believed, but didn't explode until it hit the ground?
Well, the shockwave that we saw would have required some sort of a sonic boom or explosion in the air. This, however, could have been, if part of it did survive that, it did shatter. If a big chunk of it did survive all the way down, it could create an impact.
No, that's about as big as one of those wading pools. No, wading pool's not even as big as that.
I didn't get to ask him this on the air, but off the air,
wading pool
I was able to ask him whether this meteorite that hit Russia today is at all related to the asteroid. Because you got to admit, it feels a little
kind of disappointed when I.
It's not every day we're talking about a meteorite hitting America or hitting Earth and an asteroid buzzing us. And while many are saying they don't believe they're related, because maybe they were coming from different directions, there's astrophysicists who NASA looks to tell them how to shoot down asteroids that are approaching us that are potentially dangerous. He says he can't rule that out yet, that they have to do more study. It is possible the two things are related, that maybe the meteorite that hit Russia was an offshoot of this asteroid and so on. Is there any reason to fear once the asteroid buzzes us, debris could come off of it, another meteorite could hit even though the asteroid didn't hit?
Well, they know that these asteroids do hit each other in space as they're all going on their way. The Hubble telescope has shown that in pictures. So NASA is watching that closely to see if anything does change. That's one of the reasons they've been tracking it so closely these last few months. They don't believe, as you mentioned earlier, that they're related at all because of the different directions. But if there was an interaction before it was discovered last year, if something happens later on, that remains to be seen.
All right, what is this that we're seeing on our screen now? Is this NASA now? Because now that, look, the speed is slowed way down. We are within a minute of the buzz by. And I want can we listen to this? Is this NASA scientist that we're listening to and watching here? Can I get some guidance from control room?
It seems that it could make a
it is. Let's listen.
46, but that it cannot get. It's accurate. Its orbit is known so accurately that we can project actually through most of the 21st century. And right now we're looking at the possibility, very tiny possibility, that it could hit the Earth in the year 2080. I expect that will go away, and we'll know that we're safe from this asteroid for a long time.
And how will you use the information that Lance was talking about, the information that the radar can give us?
Lance's information is very helpful in computing the orbit. We will have
look at the distance to Earth. The number is going real slow now. That means it's at its almost at its peak.
15 seconds away,
Yeah, it's passing the Earth right now.
And at that point, in just a few seconds, that is the closest point that DA-14 will be to our planet.
To our planet in centuries, probably, as far as we know. So it's a remarkable moment as it passes by, and then it will be headed out.
And watching the counter on the left, the distance to Earth.
Yes, it's going to go through about 17,200 some miles. So that's as close as it will get, and then it will start heading out.
And that's at the point where folks in Europe and then finally North America, as it's heading out, is about the time that we'll be able to see it.
Yes, it's going from the far south. Now it's over the equator, and it will be heading straight north and going essentially near the North Pole. So now we will have the polars in the sky, and we'll have a chance to see it from the northern hemisphere now.
All right. The counter is 0. It has passed closest approach, and this asteroid is going away.
It's on its way out.
All right, and Jim Green is the director of Planetary Science Division at NASA headquarters in Washington. Jim, so explain what just happened and where we stand now.
It's going back out.
This is one for the history books. As we all know, it just passed by closest approach, about 17,200 miles off our cloud deck. And it's heading out into space.
See, the numbers are going up.
As was discussed a little earlier, we're going to hit it with radar. As it flies by and get a ton of fabulous knowledge that the planetary scientists will be poring over for years.
Like what?
Well, we'll understand much more about its shape. We'll understand a little bit about perhaps its composition, its top regolith, it's called. We'll also understand a lot about its spin period, but more importantly, we'll really be able to nail its orbit.
And that helps us in predicting future asteroids, because we heard the NASA scientist there talk about the next one likely to be 2080, he said, although he didn't think that was going to hit us either.
Well, indeed, it's all about Kepler's laws and Newton. And this particular one will be able to understand its orbit quite well, be able to take advantages of looking at it the next time it may come around. Although it will be several decades before it will come anywhere near the Earth-Moon system, and I believe it will, at that particular time, be further than the Moon will be.
Wow, so this really was an historic moment that we all witnessed together. It doesn't seem like, at least as far as our experience goes, anything happened. We believe we're still on the air, although our viewers will let us know via Twitter and other means if we're not. But do you expect any sort of disruption to planet Earth as a result of this?
No, not at all. In fact, the excitement really is in the planetary science community because of this wonderful opportunity. We already had the initial orbit well calculated. We've been observing this particular object for about a year, and indeed it comes nowhere near any of our satellites. And as I mentioned earlier, it's already passed by well over 17,000 miles in its closest approach.
Jim, is there any way these two things are related, what happened in Russia and what we just saw?
Well, we've taken a good look at the one that happened over Russia about 12 or 13 hours ago, and that particular one is coming into a completely different trajectory. DA-14 came from south to north. It appears that this one was more north to south, and because those orbits are so very different, we believe they're completely unrelated events.
That's just incredible. You know, it's like for the average layperson sitting at home, it's just hard to believe. You know, you don't get this event every day, and yet apparently today we did. Last question for you is it's sort of disconcerting that this asteroid that we just witnessed was discovered by a team of amateur scientists, I guess, in another country about a year ago. NASA studies this stuff. Should people feel assured that if another asteroid does decide to head toward planet Earth, NASA's on it, they know, and there's a way of stopping it if it does want to make a direct hit?
Indeed. Last year is when this was discovered by two Spanish astronomers. And we have a network of people all around the globe that are looking for these, and then bringing back that information to our central receiving facility, what we call our minor planet center.
Well, everybody, we're still here. It passed, so hope you enjoyed it.
Determine if it's potentially hazardous or not.
From northwestern Ontario, Lake of the Woods, I hope you enjoyed it.
Oh no! So working well together.
Oh no!